Hey, look, it's the Friday show. It's Boom, it's Pinder, it's the Rhettster from his kitchen table, the home studio of the Rhettster 40 or Rhettster 44 on your Twitter. You oversouped.
I oversouped, Dean, and it's a sad thing to have happen. I'm feeling bogged down by all the barley I've consumed from my hamburger soup recipe.
What kind of barley are we using? Some pot barley, some pearl barley?
Pot barley, boom,
pot
boom.
barley. Yeah. Oh, it's delicious. It really is.
So
if you're
good,
making soup and you're not putting in the pot barley, you're doing it wrong. Just so you know.
Okay.
So good. Here we are, Friday, Tower Chrysler Studios. A reminder, take those winter clothing items, hats, mitts, toques, jackets, anything warm. Take it to Tower, right in the showroom. They're going to fill up brand new Dodge Ram. Take it to the Mustard Seed at the end of the month. And somebody, every time you put some stuff in, you take some stuff in, they're going to put your name in a draw, and you'll win a nice prize at month's end. It is February. It's nice out, but remember, we are not out of the woods. And let's help out the Mustard Seed.
100%.
Good stuff there. Now, my math is, we've established, not ideal, not great.
If you can hand off or delegate, that's what good leaders do. I just have a math department. Anytime you have a math problem, just...
Okay. This one, I'm going to give it an attempt because I feel like it's really kind of...
Okay.
We've done 10 afterburners.
We led afterburner with this last night.
We've had 10 afterburner programs.
An eighth of the season, yeah.
The Flames have won twice.
They've won twice. And one of them was they needed overtime against the last place team in the league. It was Columbus on that night, on Johnny Return night. They have one regulation win in 10 afterburner games.
I was disheartened yesterday, Dean. I was very disheartened by everything that's happening.
I heard you pulled the plug on the show. That was you were so upset about it. You just bailed.
I gotta go.
Going down. I can't tell my wife I love her.
I'm gonna get some scotch. Bye.
Technical difficulties from the kitchen or from the basement on Afterburner last night.
Below.
There was a big wind, Dean. There was a big wind. It was blowing hard here in Below, and
a mighty wind.
I don't know why.
Well,
but in Calgary, there aren't a lot of power lines, right?
Older neighborhoods are. The new ones, there's not. And given the city has doubled in my life, there's probably not a lot.
It's all above ground here. Power poles left and right. I don't understand why, but so it must have blown my internet off the roof.
Well,
blowing the internet off.
Blowing the internet right off the roof. If you would like, you can go to FlamesNation.ca. Our Ryan Pike had his post-game thoughts, and we'll share ours here on this show, which is Barn Burner. In regulation, the Detroit Red Wings, there you have it. They do fall short in the Motor City, despite some big saves, a gallant effort from Dan Vladar.
Which effort?
His first loss since November 26th for Dan Vladar.
So way back. That's a hell of a run. Ties the franchise record, 13 games with a point, 10-0-3, and it was not on him last night. Shorthanded breakaway early against Villano. That incredible blocker save on the power play chance. I believe that was Perron that gets robbed. Yeah. Not to mention some other saves, partial breaks. I mean, he allowed 2, and both of them were pretty significant defensive lapses in front of him. He didn't face a lot of volume, but anytime Detroit had a shot, it felt like a scoring chance.
You know, looking at it now, looking back, this should have been a Markstrom game where he plays well, gets gets one goal for offense, and they lose 2-1. Eric Francis, Sportsnet, his math, they are now 12, 9, and 10 in 1-goal games.
Remember, they're going to get good at this. This is good for them in the playoffs, right? We keep hearing that.
Yeah.
Huh?
We also kind of said that the things that were happening to the Flames before American Thanksgiving and then after American Thanksgiving and before Christmas and then after New Year's and All-Star game, that it's all going to come together. That things were going to find a way. It's going to iron.
Jonathan Huberdeau's not regressing into the point per game player who he was been for the last half decade. Do you notice that? Maybe his worst game as a Flame last night.
I have him in my notes. There were 2 players last night not to register a shot on net. One was Milan Lucic.
Which is fine. I mean, not ideal. But
the other, Jonathan Huberdeau.
In fact, he was the only Flame not to register a shot attempt.
16 minutes and 14 seconds of ice time. 3 minutes of power play time. 0 shots.
Ghost. Don't even bring it up. He's a ghost. He doesn't care. He's not happy. Clearly he's not happy. He's not playing the same way. He's got no emotion. And he's not. Call a spade a spade. He doesn't want to be here.
Is a little strong. I mean,
I think care about right now. He does not give an F about this team. I'm sorry, he doesn't.
Okay. Or I don't know what he.
So expand, Rhett. Like that he doesn't care.
If a guy cares about the team, he goes out and tries. Did you see him trying in the last yesterday? He's not at 18 where all of a sudden you don't know how to play. He had 115 effing points last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not blaming him. I think probably it's been sour since about game 7 when they changed all the lines and things went south.
Yeah, the coach said he was taking a shit when he was on the training bench. Yeah.
This
relationship was fucked up right from the start when the coach, for whatever reason, did what he did early. And I don't know if Daryl has some long game where he rounds into form, but it looks like he's ruined an elite offensive player and turned him into a mediocre defender that has no offense. And that's horrifying because that's not what you brought in.
And from Jonathan Huberdeau's point of view, F you. F you, coach.
He does have more longevity than the coach, but both have a lot of turmoil.
I'll sit at home and make my 10.5. Thank you very much. Like, what are we talking about? It's a shitty thing, but that's how the game is nowadays. The players have clout. If Daryl wants to run him out of town, go ahead. Then probably he'd be like, yes, please get me out of here. If you're not going to play me and use me in a way that I can be effective, I don't want to be here anyway.
It's an immovable object. That contract does not move.
No,
it's unbuyoutable. It's all signing bonus money. Yes, it will. It'll go down as the worst contract in Flames history.
What's that?
It will go down as the worst Flames contract in history of the franchise. As long as it goes like this. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if there was another coach on planet Earth that could get more out of him. In fact, I can think of a few that were in Florida the last couple of years. But I think a lot of issues go right back to Daryl at this point. And the problem with issues going back to Daryl is that I don't know who has more power underneath the owner in the organization than Daryl right now. He's got a 3-year extension in his pocket, if what we're told is true. The GM's a lame duck up at the end of the year. And like, where's the temperature level on Daryl's hot seat? This owner hates paying 2 coaches at the same time. Like, Daryl's got all kinds of power, and that's not good if you remember how Daryl ran this team as a GM.
The nice thing for Daryl is he can do what Huberdeau does. F you, send me home. I'm getting paid. Right? Like, it's shitty for everyone. You want people on trying to prove themselves, not fat cats sitting back. Oh, well, don't play me. Whatever.
I think we've watched his confidence deteriorate to a point where Jonathan Huberdeau might not even believe he's a good player anymore. And
he does not want to go to the rink.
Why would he, right? I mean, he clearly doesn't get along with the coach. The coach has not respected him an iota since he arrived. I think this is a big issue here because neither of them are going away anytime soon. You can't move that contract, and Daryl has an extension. How does this end, guys? Not well.
Dean? How, Dean?
I'm waiting. I'm just no. I want you to go because I can. There's nothing. It's impossible to make any other argument. And all I have is Huberdeau question mark. What has happened? How did we get here? How do you possibly get out of this? Mm-hmm. The contract hasn't kicked in. It is fucking nightmare fuel right now.
5.9 this year, 10.5 next year.
He's overpaid on this contract right now, let alone when it doubles. Yeah. Aside from just, ride it out for 8 years and he's overpaid. What happens? How do you fix this? It's broke. He's got skills that we have not seen. We haven't seen anything close. I'm trying to think what his first game or two, he had that little kind of spin move against the boards and made a backhand no-look pass to whoever it was, and he went in and scored. It's like, wow. Maybe that was preseason even, I think it was. We've seen no flashes. This is not a guy that's snake bit. This is not a guy that's close to breaking through.
No.
It's broken
Yep.
from the looks of things.
Is he being used in situations where he can be successful? I mean, he was non-existent yesterday, fine, and then he's not on the power play at the end. Okay, well, he was horseshit, so he shouldn't be out there maybe at the end of the third period on a power play. But has he been put into such? Was he not playing net front on our power play at one point?
They've also switched up the power play units coming out of the All-Star break. They're leaving Huberdeau, Kadri, and Pelche together, which means your other unit that has Toffoli and Lindholm and someone else might be a better one. Like, I don't know it certainly hasn't worked, but before the All-Star break, it wasn't like the power play was good. You've said it all year. If Lindholm is your best center and Toffoli is your best finisher, you'd love to see Huberdeau there. He got a very short runway there. The coach made some snide comments about who Lindholm likes to play with, which I'm sure Elias really liked. And we haven't seen him back there since. You've been calling for it, and we have not seen a line where he's clicked and looked like himself yet.
You know what, though? As I sit here today, I'm not going to prop myself up on get him with Lindholm and things work out. This is something bigger. I'm with you, Rhett. I don't know that this is something that just give him a different center or a different other winger, and it's just going to naturally. This feels, let's get everybody in a room. Let's sit down. Let's air this shit out and figure it out. Huberdeau is better than this. I believe it. But we have not seen it for a second.
What we've seen is a guy trying to do too much and put passes through skate holes and stuff that doesn't work. I'm not necessarily on the he doesn't care side. I'm on this guy's a shadow of what he was confidence-wise before. I think the coach has played a huge role. But, like, this is the problem with Daryl. He has his vision, and, like, is he polling the dome and using his people to say, what are you seeing? Or is it my way or the highway? Like, we know how this guy rolls. It's a silo he operates in. So you can talk about getting in a room and airing it out. Who's setting up that meeting, and is Daryl showing up?
Oh, yeah.
It's a nightmare.
It won't happen,
for
sure. But I just don't know. I don't know what we're seeing. I was trying to think, has there been a greater fall from grace without an injury involved from a guy who was top 5 in league scoring,
second in league scoring,
to this, which is
and second in league scoring with 115 points. Not a low scoring season where a guy had a random run and got 89 and the other guy had 95 points. It's 115 points. It's a lot of fucking points. Right? Like, that's and I don't know that you duplicate that every year, and that's fine, but he's not close. He's not 115 points. He's not a 70-point guy.
It's tough to imagine him at a point per game right now, isn't it? It's like, boy, that would be a huge upgrade. I don't know if he's got that, which is wild.
Right. It's probably the word he doesn't care is probably a little strong, but he's being forced into, I gotta believe, but he's being forced into not enjoying the game. And by not enjoying the game, you care less, right? Like,
yeah. Oh, he hates going to the rink for sure.
Absolutely hates going to the rink. You think that Jonathan Huberdeau's happy to wake up in Buffalo, New York this morning and have to go to the rink and probably get ripped and deal with that shit and then play tomorrow at noon in Buffalo and then get on there's no way. You know what Jonathan Huberdeau wants to do? Just send me home. I need a month away from this shit. I just got to get away. Now, when you were asking your question, how do you fix it? Somewhere in the past, you have to go back and find a situation where this has happened to a guy. Mm-hmm. I don't know who it is, but I'm sure there's some sort of example. What I'd be interested in finding out, do they get out of it? When this happened in the past, if there's some sort of history that's similar, did that guy ever come out of it? Or was it just he's done? Right? Or is the contract?
I got one for you. Think about Jeff Skinner in Buffalo. He's that career year. They go on that 10-game heater. Looks like they're in a playoff spot. And it's like, okay, we got to extend this guy. We might be a playoff team. He was a free agent coming up to the deadline. It's either trade him or sign him, and they give him a big money 8-year deal. And what happens? He bottoms out. I believe it was Kruger comes in. between the coach and the player. He ends up down on the fourth line. He's probably not his best stuff. The coach's system probably doesn't fit well with what he's doing. He's all the way to the fourth line, and everyone thinks that's the worst contract in hockey. What's Jeff Skinner done in the last 2 years under a different coach? He's looked like Jeff Skinner. He's a 30-goal guy that's been fine, and Rhett would be able to speak to it more. I view this situation as similar to that. It's not the exact same, but I don't think it's a hard sell to suggest that this player will not succeed under this coach.
Not gonna.
Huberdeau and Sutter.
It's not change. It's not going to change here.
I agree, because I think there's two things. He looks to me, and I know people will say, you're a pro, you're getting all that money, suck it up and be a man and be a pro. The guy looks like he could use a little bit of compassion.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he could use a coach that's not going to fucking smash him over the head. How about let's put an arm around this guy, figure out away from the rink, at the rink, it's in all of our best interests. Coach, like if your game improves, we're all better off for it. And like you said, do you talk to somebody? You need a coach that would be willing to solicit advice and then accept that advice. And Daryl ain't that.
No.
Under this environment, I don't see how any of these pieces fall in unless Huberdeau just comes out of it on his own. And he looks like a guy who is, I'm with you. He looks depressed. He looks like he hates the game, doesn't want to be at the rink. He's new in town. Everything's new. He's got to be thinking, how the fuck
How'd this happen?
did I get here?
And you can't go hide in Calgary. It ain't Miami.
It's not Miami.
You don't leave the rink and people shut up about the game. You fucking leave the rink and it's worse. Now people taking pot shots. So now you sit in your effing house because you're like, screw that. I'm not going out listening to this. No way. Vicious cycle.
So this isn't the only issue with the team, but I think it's the biggest one, given that this is a capped universe this team lives in, given that the coach has term, the player has term, the GM seems like he's got less power given that his contract's up at the end of the year. I think the organization's ability to troubleshoot this or solve this problem will be the greatest measure of if they're a good organization or not. This is a massive challenge.
Huge.
We trotted out that number in 1-goal games, 12, 9, and 10. If Huberdeau is at
it's 31 games,
a little over or under a point per game, you have to believe of those 10 extra time losses, of the 9 regulation, how many of those are wins?
Dude, how better is your power play?
Like,
they're a power play goal away from being a totally different spot. They've played 1-goal games like more than half the season. What have they played? 54 games? You had 31 of them are 1-goal games?
And even if you have 2 more wins, you a couple, 3.
You're in. You win last night, you're in a playoff spot.
Yeah. I just don't.
And so it's not like the sky's falling, but it's a major issue that's not going away anytime soon, right? Like they still could win the next 2 games in this road trip and be in a playoff spot. They're not impressive.
To me,
Rhett said it last night. They're pretty fucking boring. But it's
terrible to watch.
The West doesn't look strong this year.
No, and that's we used to get in shit. Mr. King was right when he told us, you guys don't tell people not to pay attention and not watch. But they're hard to watch right now because they don't that the Rangers game, how excited were we? Awesome. Yes, thank you.
Game.
Love it. The best. Wonderful. You can't tell me last night was full effort. Was it complete dog shirt? No. But they weren't 100%. We're good enough fans and hockey people to know when you watch a team whether they're invested or not. And too many nights again this year, they have not been invested. And so it's fine for us to say, Huberdeau, fix your shit. We got to fix this Huberdeau. It's not just Huberdeau.
No, it's just the biggest.
The young
issue.
kids have been treated awkwardly. The D is not good enough. I mean, it's not their fault. And I don't know what Shillington's dealing. That's a private affair. It's not their fault that he's not back, but the D aren't good enough, right? And there's all Lindholm's their best player, but again, I don't watch him and go, man, he's really invested. Michael Backlund on a game-to-game basis. Some days he's really good.
Lindholm's not the best player this year. I'll tell you that.
Who's driving this bus? Who's driving the bus?
The Backlund line. Like it's Backlund or it's remember, top pair. That's it.
And remember, because I was going to do 20 questions this week and we didn't get to it. And this team doesn't have a captain. We're of the belief that the coach has been the captain. He's been the leader. You're right. Who is driving this bus?
Yeah. And honestly, it sounds kind of mean, but I feel like Daryl's ego is a big part of not being no captain on this team. I think other coaches would give it to the room and let that group run it. I think he wants the power. Is that not exactly everything he is? You know, he coached here in 2004 and turned himself into the GM within a year or two. Right now, it feels like there's a power play going on for all the personnel stuff to go through it.
That's not technically true because he came in as GM coach, so it's not.
No,
he's always. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. He was the GM coach, and that's why he went up to be the GM.
But he didn't want to take over the reins after Craig Button was let go.
Well, he comes in halfway through the 02-03 season.
Yeah, so if Button finished the year, maybe, but it was a couple months, right? Like,
yeah, it was very short. Yeah.
No, you're right. 304, he was coach GM. Right. So,
but again, the point being that like it wouldn't surprise anyone if Daryl likes amassing power and control.
So here, can I just jump in and Pinder? We talked about this off air yesterday, and he made a really good. The Flames, organizationally, haven't been good since when?
Consistently, the early 90s. Yeah.
There you go. There you go. And the 04 run, I'm proud to be part of it. I'm 100. It's my fondest of memories. It was a fluke. Not in a fluke that it was just every game was fluky and we didn't try and work our asses off. It was an absolute fluke that Mika Kiprusoff fell into our hands. And without Mika Kiprusoff, you would have had another decade of shit.
Wouldn't have made the playoffs.
And you maybe needed to suffer that and realize, oh, we can't operate this way. We can't hope and pray that these one-off random seasons where we have a run of success, but do nothing in the playoffs and then fall off again, right? It's just, it's a continual roller coaster. It's organizationally. It's been 30 years of it. You can't say that it's not bad luck. It's not that it's an organizational miss. They've never built anything. They've not built shit. Nothing. The 04 run was not a build. It was a random event that their number one goalie got hurt and they had to make a trade because their backup goalie even got hurt and they happened to get a superstar, all-star, perhaps Hall of Fame caliber goaltender in return. Mm-hmm. That's the only thing that's kept this franchise afloat.
The problem I have as well is that when they do run into trouble and it's time to replace a coach or a GM, it's always the bargain bin. Like Daryl's the outlier here. When do they ever go out and get established top 10 at their craft type people? Like I like Treliving. I think he's had to deal with a lot of, shitty hands dealt to him. The Bill Peters one, who could have seen that coming? Not to mention some other things. And, the owner probably likes to get in the way of a lot of things happening. Ken King always wanted to hear what was going on in green light stuff. But like he's a first-time GM. 3 of the last 5 coaches have been first-time head coaches, if I'm correct. They went out and paid Daryl finally, but it's like, why are you always starting fresh and letting people make their first mistakes running your team? Tree, I think, will be a GM again if it's not here next year, and I think he'll do a good job. But everyone's going to be better as they do the job longer. And you're still running out Gulletson and Jeff Ward and trying to sell us that these are actually solid candidates, not just cheap options. This organization has a problem right from the top.
Yeah, it's part of the reason they have cheap options because they don't want to double down on paying too high-end coaches. They fire a guy. You're not going to fire Daryl and bring in another $5 million coach. You got $10 million.
That's why
I don't know what Daryl makes, but I'm just saying we're going to spend $10 million a year on coaching.
They don't want to spend 4 on coaching. Why would they spend? Yeah, like when Hartley was on payroll, Gulletson made peanuts. When Peters was on payroll, Jeff Ward made peanuts. There's a track record here.
Give me an example of an organization that never had to build something.
They all do
to be successful. Right. Like Chicago was shit, and I'm not saying it doesn't even always work out. Buffalo's been shit for a long time, but how many playoffs series have we won? Clearly, Buffalo hasn't made the playoffs, which is worse. But how many playoff series have we won in the history with the Sabres haven't made the playoffs? 1?
2, probably. I think since 04, it's 2. You had the 14-15 season where they ran into a Vancouver club, and it was the Johnny Monty, Matt Stajan goal that year, and then last year against Dallas. But that's it. And if you look at the league as percentiles, like, okay, so half the league's going to make the playoffs. So you're in the top half if you make the playoffs. That happens about every other year here. And the top quarter of the league gets to the second round. They've done that 3 times since 1989. What? 3 times they've gone through the first round since 1989.
And you can appreciate the mandate or the directive of make the playoffs. You know, I think that, but every team that starts the season basically says that. Maybe San Jose wasn't saying it this year, or Chicago, right? Maybe, but they wouldn't say anything. But most teams believe that they're going to try and make the playoffs. That doesn't make you holy and right. It doesn't make you. It could be the absolute worst move, and it's just like right now. What's the worst thing they can do? Try and make the playoffs by adding pieces.
Finish 9th in the West.
That's the worst thing they can do. They can add pieces and either maybe make it in, or at worst case make 9th and lose. And then I said it on the chat on YouTube. What's next year? I don't find hope in the fact that if they don't make the playoffs, next year's better. I'm sure there'll be changes
this summer.
I'm sure there'll be changes, but they don't have. It's not like there's a plethora of talent here. That's just maybe there is because Daryl won't let them play, but it's not like they're beating down the door and it's just we're set up moving forward. I don't know what you get next year. I don't know what you get next year. A year older.
Yep. You hope you have Matt Coronado in the lineup, but that's it's not a deep prospect pool. It's not a team that I think is an attractive place in free agency given the coaching track record.
7 draft picks this year. What's their draft picks this year?
They got like 4, and they're capped out for next year. It's a tough spot to be in. GM has no deal, capped out, bottom 3rd prospect pool, and right now a bubble team.
And an old bubble team. Not young.
Yeah, they're old. Yeah, they're old.
Don't fucking kid yourself. This isn't a bunch of kids that aren't quite getting the job done. You brought in fucking Kadri. Oh, he's at the All-Star game. Yeah, well, does he look like an All-Star right now?
Pelche is the best player on that line right now. That's a little scary.
There's a lot in there. And I'm not to say I agree or disagree with that whole thing. And I get the ownership and all of that sort of thing. The one thing that ownership does do here is they spend to the cap.
Everyone does, though. Who doesn't?
But you know what, though? It was talk to some teams where they don't. We're a budget team. We're not a cap team.
But who are they? I really don't know that those exist. Arizona and Columbus isn't last. They're right to the cap. Chicago's spending $30 million on 3 players.
The point being,
I see both.
It's not just now, but that's been the case for. Go ahead.
They have, and I my point is, I see both sides of it. I see what you're saying, Boom, and you got to applaud an owner that says, "Yeah, we'll just you have the ability as GM to spend to the cap." There's no question that's it's the checkbook is open for that, but that doesn't make it the right plan. And there aren't many other teams in the NHL in today's world that aren't spending to the cap. Right?
The ones that aren't are tanking.
You're going to lose your effing fan base real fast. Especially with the approach they have. They say they're going to make the playoffs every year. You got a veteran team. You're bringing in guys. You're spending lots of money. You better make the playoffs. You are up against, if you had a bunch of kids and the fans and people could go, I don't know, these kids are cheap. We don't have to spend it. I don't care about the cap. We've got a group of young kids that are coming up. They're exciting to watch. I don't think there's Flame fans in Calgary that are fans because the ownership spends to the cap. They want to believe in the team. They want to believe in what they're going to watch. And it's real hard to do that right now. Right. I appreciate that the ownership will spend that money, but if it's not in the best interest of the team or the fans, and it's not putting a good squad on I think most fans in Calgary would suffer through a little bit of hardship and still attend the games and still spend the money if they believed that what was coming down the road was going to be successful. These fans don't want to go to Tuesday night against Minnesota for the next decade and not be entertained. They want to go to a Stanley Cup final game. They want to get their playoff bill in their email box or a phone call from the Flames sales team. Are you buying your playoff tickets? We have it. We're going to the finals. You better buy them all right now or you're going to miss out. That's what the fans want. They don't want to watch Pelche maybe getting a lineup for a Tuesday in Detroit. Who the cares? They want playoff hockey, not, well, let's sneak into the playoffs and, oh, well, we got 3 games. That's good. No long-term plan. Are you telling me next year you think that the Flames team is in a position as they sit right now, and again, millions of things can change, but as they sit right now, how much change will have to happen to make you or any of the fans of Calgary believe that they're a Stanley Cup contender?
You need significant change if it's going to look like this, right? I mean, if they rip off 8 wins in a row, I just don't see how they could do it. It doesn't look like a team that can do it.
Well, I was going to say,
they got a month. They got 22 days to the deadline, 21 days to the deadline. We were counting it last night. So it's like, by all means, have a good 3 weeks, but it's just hard to imagine. Even when their last 4 games is perfect. Boom. You lose to the last place team at home in one of the worst efforts of the season. Back-to-back with travel, you beat the division leader in Seattle. You come out of the break and play an inspired, physical, most entertaining game they've had all season against New York, get 1 point. And then you look completely uninspired and flat against Detroit. There's zero consistency with this group. That's the last 4 games. And it's like, you have no idea what you're getting. How could this team reel off 6-7 in a row?
I was going to say, this is probably not the show we're doing today if they win 4-1 last night.
Even if they win in overtime.
But I don't think it doesn't. I said it to you off the air. Does this team, do they have it? Does this look like a team that has, and like you had said, they got a puncher's chance in a first round? Maybe, but does this? It's
a squint, but it happens in this tournament every year.
Christ.
But no, that can't be your plan, is to be a bad team that's overmatched and get lucky for 10 years. That can't be a plan.
And people bitched about it, but you got to shake up the core, break up the core. You had that team, and you gave that team a run. Kachuk, Gaudreau, Monahan, that
Bennett
whole
to
group,
an extent,
right?
Giordano, yeah.
And it didn't work.
They're all gone.
And they're all gone. And now this is what you're trying. This is not going to work either, as I sit here and watch. I just don't see how this works. The trouble is, I don't know how you get out of it now, because you've got so much locked in. And it's hypocritical, because at the time, it was like, Huberdeau signed up. That's, hey, you need superstars. He's a superstar.
Is he? He was. That's the crazy.
You aren't top 5 in the league for 6-7 years in a row.
Don't ask me that question, because I never bought it. So.
And I'm not looking to let the GM off the hook, but I don't get it. I don't get how you go from being one of the top 5-10 guys in the fucking world,
second in scoring,
to this.
Yeah. I think if you gave me a blueprint for how this team could be successful next year, it involves a different coach. And I just don't. That's completely out of character for this owner.
Well, and I'm not going to say we always feel shitty talking about guys' jobs, but there's no way Treliving's involved either. Then
he's up at the end of the year. I mean, try to work an extension right now if you're Brad Treliving.
And the thing of it is,
feels ominous.
It doesn't have to be a decade of sadness and hurt. You can, with the cap and different things, teams are looking to move out players and get some. You can probably turn this thing around a lot quicker than it used to be. But you need to commit to it. You need to have everybody in the room and say, this is the plan. We're going to strip it down. We want picks. We want kids. We'll take on contracts on short term to give up space to other teams. They give us picks and assets that we need. But that's a 180 from the philosophy they're using now.
Yeah, this summer was about chips in. This summer was about a 3 to 5 year window. You knew you were going to be old. You knew the back half. Well, just hang on. So you knew the back half of the Carter deal would not be good. You know the back half of the Huberdeau deal is not going to be good. Ditto for Weegar at his age. The hope was that these guys would be the guys they've been for the first half of the deals, or at least, the beginning of the deals. And I still don't think that a 115 guy turns into a 40-point guy overnight. I think there's some major behind-the-scenes issues. So you're in your window now, Dean. Like, you knew it wasn't going to be good years 5, 6, 7, 8. But year one's not good.
Okay, so what you know what it is? You were wrong. You picked a horse.
The GM, yeah.
And you picked, just hang on, you picked a plan, and it's clear you were wrong. This is not a week away from, like, there it is. Back to the top of the division, hard team to play against, all things are firing. This is not. So how long do you wait?
Till the deadline.
How long do you wait? I have to think, hey, Bill Zito, you want Weegar? You need him back? What do we do? Like, I'm not shitting you. What do you do?
Well, okay, so
because you have so much money committed.
You have to give them the 3 weeks. And at that point, you have to have, Rhett, a focused plan. And if you're out of it in 3 weeks, don't go throwing Hail Marys and moving future assets.
But they're not going to
right?
be out of, sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, but they're not going to be out of it. They're good enough to win
8th or 9th.
I know, but that's the whole point, is that in 3 weeks, they're going to be what they're going to be so far this year. They're going to kind of be hanging around. I don't expect that they're going to be bad enough that they fall completely flat and lose the next 6 in a row. And if they do, then it's an easy decision. And I don't think they're good enough. They're going to win 6 in a row. They don't have the emotional investment or enjoyment of going to the rink to have that happen. Anyway, sorry. So 3 weeks is fine. Go ahead. Give it 3 weeks. But I don't think and you're going to get it clear.
Yeah,
I think you're right. Like, in the sense that they'll probably be where they've been all year, which is on the bubble. And you noted the 1-goal games. They played 31 1-goal games. They played 54 games. So, like, buckle up for more of those. You're a bounce away every night, but you can never open a lead, and seemingly you're never blown out. It's frustrating. It's mucky middle.
And you know
and
what?
So here's the GM with 3 weeks left. Dino, after the trade deadline, what can you do to this roster? Nothing. You can sign Coronado. That's it. And so at that point, he would have to go to ownership and say, okay, like, I'm up at the end of June here. Like, what's your plan? Is what the probably like that's how you're going to be judged. Is that not it? Like, at the deadline, I mean, maybe if you could find a right side third pair guy for a 5th rounder or something, sure, but they cannot be giving up anything of value.
That's why I said you're going to give up anything to bring in Luke Schenn. I said, yeah, are you a Luke Schenn away? What the fuck are we talking about? Like, what? That's crazy pills. What are we doing?
Yeah, for a second.
And you know what? We've talked in the past about how a great goalie can hide warts, and this team has 24 wins and 28 losses. If it were not for all these other getting points, hey, they're getting points, they're close. No, they're losing these games. They're not winning them, they're losing them, and they got points, and that's admirable. But if they didn't have as many of these extra time loss points, and they were further down in the standings, it'd be a consensus. Everybody in the choir would be singing it. This team doesn't have it. Sell.
Agreed, but that's everyone in the standings, right? Like, everyone has loser points. They're not an elite team. They're not a contender.
For this team, it tells you a story, though. It's not just a side note. All these teams have it. No, you've watched how many goddamn games. Oh, they outshot the opponent. Yeah, but how many scoring chances? Oh, they're in these 1-goal games. How many do they deserve to win? Your record is what you say. What you say it is. You know what? They're not 24, 18, and 10 good. That's deceptive. Their goalie hasn't been good. They can't score. They don't have finishers. Their power play is 25th in the league.
Sucks.
They are not a good hockey team.
No.
Nope.
And it's like the part of the challenge is that if it was a clearer cut like it is in the East, like, you're selling. But because it's this, Minnesota's got like 3 wins in their last 9 and shit. It's like, shit, you could talk yourself into it. It's dangerous.
But this is where the bravery comes in. We talk about it with GMs the odd time, a guy that does Stevie Y with Marty St. Louis. It's not the fucking feel-good story. It's a shit story, but it's the right move. This is where the bravery part comes in, and you go, like, you fucking recognize what you are and you fucking deal with it. And you sell every goddamn piece you can and get in return the best assets that you can. Hence the reason I said it's stupid to sign Weegar and Huberdeau, because if those guys aren't signed right now to long-term extensions, what the fuck is their value? Even playing poorly, someone's looking at Jonathan Huberdeau going,
I can fix them. Yeah. You could
I'll take that for a playoff run.
At this point. Yeah.
Right? Like,
so if that's the case, Rhett, and I think like a lot of that rings true, next year is the last year of Elias Lindholm's deal. Should they be talking to teams about Elias Lindholm? Like, it's a scary thing to do when you look at.
They shouldn't be, but they might have to, because he might be the best asset they have to move, and it might bring the most return. Asset. Right?
Noah Hannafin's got 1 year after this.
Michael Backlund's
got 2.
But there'd be a lot of teams that'd be happy to take on Backlund. Backlund is not a high, right? So
Backlund would be a great ad for a team like Colorado, right? Like,
it's not the greatest case example, but again, if you dedicate yourself to the mission of turning things around. There are things you can do. There are some things you can't do because of the cap and big contracts and all of that. And you're right, Rhett. It's right now, if you didn't have those extensions in place, you'd be sour the season wasn't going well. But you'd be all right. Well, what do you get for this guy? What do you get for this guy? But man, and the thing of it is, and you mentioned it, I like Nazem Kadri. I think he's been a fine player. But if you didn't have those extensions in place, if Huberdeau said, no, I don't want to sign right now, I'm going to go, and you don't get Weegar done, I don't know if you go and get Kadri done. Because I feel like that was a chips in, pot committed type of a move.
Yeah. And again, like it's year over year, we see teams that look awful and the next year they look great. Like look at Winnipeg. How the fuck were they that bad last year and that this good this year? I don't get it. It's coaching's a big thing.
Yep.
I would believe if Daryl has to stay and Daryl can't go, you really do have to consider starting to sell. But if you still believe this group can win,
then you're in a shitty spot.
It can't be with this coach.
Sorry, I got it. But a rebuild's not good with that coach either, is it? Is he the
with who?
Clearly, he's
with
not
Darryl?
the guy that's appeasing the young kids. Like if I'm Coronado, Daryl Sutter was great to me, and he's like a father. But if I'm Coronado, I don't want to come play for this guy.
You want to start running
after
your
what's happened to
entry-level clock.
Pelche.
That's what you want to do.
No,
yeah,
right. So
he has to wait till the summer of 2025 if he wants to be a free agent. That's the only thing that really puts a lot of favor in him actually signing, is that he could be done his entry level by then if he signs this spring. And then it's like, once you're out of your entry level, the players have all kind of leverage. You want to get out of here, you can get out of here.
And we always overreact to this industry and this and that. And there's going to be a time for cooler heads to think it through better than we are right now. But it's brutal right now. It's brutal. Is Daryl the right coach for any of the situations moving forward? I don't.
Doesn't feel like
what's going to happen for them to mend fences and all those players in that dressing room to enjoy going to the rink again with Daryl still there? What? All we've heard.
And I don't know
that
they have.
And
it doesn't feel like they have an internal candidate, does it? Like
no. And then if you
go be a head coach for 10 years.
Yeah, and then if you go, oh no, we're not going to ride this out. We are going to make a bunch of massive moves, and we're going to restock and have a goal of a 3-year, 4-year plan or whatever it is. Again, is he is this the guy at the helm? Does he want to be part of that? I don't think Daryl signed an extension to operate a daycare. Right? Like that's not what he's interested in. He's been in the game too long. He's thinking he wants to win. He wants to push buttons in the playoffs and try and win another Stanley Cup. I don't think he's interested in developing young kids. That's not, and I don't blame him. He's 65, however half in a hole he is. He's at a different point in his career. He's not Cale McLean. Cale McLean would love that opportunity. I would love to take on growing these kids. Sure. But that's not Daryl Sutter's MO.
No.
He's not here to do that.
You always hear about the shelf life of a hard-ass coach. It sure feels like it happened fast because he came in and said the right things, and it looked like, in a way, his time away, wins the cups, ended, you move on.
Softening up.
You get back in unfinished business, right? And guys took to him, and it worked. But to your point, Rhett, and it's probably just us because we sit and we talk every day. That friggin' game against the Oilers, where that puck goes in.
Game 7 or whatever, game 8.
And he switches the lines. My understanding is from that point on, it was the vice tightened up and it hasn't let off. And now you've got the hard-ass coach. He's beyond pulling it back. And the team's done with him. It looks broken.
Yeah.
And how long's he been here?
It's coming up on 2 years.
It's usually even
2 years.
These coaches with shelf lives have a longer shelf life than this. And you know what? I just wanted to say one week. We'll move on because we're kind of now spinning our wheels. This is on the players too. Yeah. The coach might not be the right fit anymore with this group, but there's some players. I mean, I don't know what you are, Mackenzie Weegar, but you can be better. Zadorov, you've been better than you have been here the last little stretch. Markstrom, you have to be better.
Got to be. 3 years left.
Right? Like there's plenty of blame, whatever you want to call it. But there are guys, it's been a fine year for Toffoli. Kadri has been pretty good. Elias doesn't look right. We've talked about Huberdeau. Dubé is on a top line wing. I like Dylan a lot. He's not a top line winger.
Mangiapane, Coleman, and Backlund have had a nice run here, 2-3 weeks, but it really struggled in the first half.
Steep drop for Mangiapane. Yeah.
And look, final thought here, like no one saw it going this way, and it sucks that it's gone this way. They could still get in and get hot. I mean, weirder things have happened. I'm not suggesting it's likely, but you know, they come home with 4 points out of 4 here. Like they're in a playoff spot. It's fucking weird. And if they win that ugly 3-2 in overtime, this isn't the show we do.
But you know, it is overreaction. It doesn't change who they are. You know, that,
and
right?
The big picture is still the same. That like if the GM's gonna be up, like who's making these decisions? Like, is it the owner? And if it's not, if we know the GM's done, you get to the deadline and he can't really affect the roster much after that. Like, who's coming in?
Yeah,
So I like there's some, and then all of a sudden, the last year of their deals, next year, Lindholm, Backlund, Toffoli, Hanifin, Zadorov, Tanev. Holy fuck!
But you know what?
Last year.
But if you're looking, if
you want to reset it, you can do it.
Get at it.
And honestly, like you might have to live with a bad Huberdeau contract for the next 8 years. But if the cap's $100 million, there's teams that have bigger impediments than that. If this is gonna blow up, you cut the wrong cord, the bomb goes off. There is a faster turnaround time than I think people want to believe, given that all those assets I mentioned would fetch nice returns this deadline, this summer, next deadline. They're all good players. None of those guys are bad at hockey.
Valentine's Day. Love is in the air.
Isn't it today?
Tuesday is Valentine's Day. And if you are spinning your wheels on an idea for Valentine's Day, another reminder, Vina Nova, Calgary's only lab-grown diamond specialist. That's all they do at Vina Nova is the lab-grown diamonds. They are half, 60, 80% in some cases, more affordable than your mined diamonds, even though they're the same composition and everything. Go and see Justin. Go and see the people at Vina Nova. You go online, vinanova.com, and you find a purchase. You're going to make a purchase. Before you do that, you put in Barnburner into the promo code box, and you're going to also get a delicious box of chocolates. Justin sent me the photo this morning from the chocolate lab made right here downtown Calgary. Delicious is high-end stuff. You're going to be a winner. You are going to be a huge hit on Valentine's Day if your significant other opens up a beautiful piece of jewelry from Vina Nova, vinanova.com.
Don't screw it up, boys. Just go to Vina Nova.
Don't screw it up.
Good scenes.
You know, maybe you had a plan in place for something. It's not too late to abandon that and make a better plan.
If it's not done,
better path. This would be the better path.
Change course if it's not working. That's what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Okay.
You're not married to it. Quite a start.
Watch them just go on a heater now just to shove it up our asses.
Listen, with all of this, I'm very happy to be wrong.
Yeah. And it doesn't give you, that's the thing. Oh, well, they go on a heater. It's like, does that excuse your fucking performance last night?
So, does that make amends for the first 54? No, it doesn't.
Right? Like, oh, yeah, well, we showed you we won 2 in a row. And
we beat 2 non-playoff teams.
You shit the bed for 3 months. Like, get out of here.
Well, and it's, yeah, we've done all this a couple times now, but the frustrating part's that they do go into Seattle win. They do hang with good teams and then they shit their pants.
Village Honda, villagehonda.com is the website. You'll see the QR code up on the screen if you want to be taken right there. There's many reasons to stop by the Northwest Auto Mall. Pop into Village Honda, say hi to them. Maybe you want to sell them your car. They're looking to buy used vehicles. 24 hours, you're going to get your payment. No hassle, no obligation. Appraisal can be done today. Up at the Northwest Auto Mall, the new CRV Hybrid is there. Ooh. The Honda Passport Trail Sport is there. Good people up in the Northwest region of our city. Village Honda, villagehonda.com presents the Pinder Report.
All right, let's get to it. Flames last night. Geez, did we talk about it? It felt like a bit of, I said on the show, it wasn't a death blow to the club, but it felt ominous. And I feel like that tone was reflected on the show today. Here's a clip from Afterburner last night if you missed it. Yeah, do we have the clip or no? There we go. Or it's just a screenshot.
Does it play or was it all?
We had tech issues last night. Maybe that's what we're showing.
Yeah,
Isn't that
same
great?
thing.
Yeah. We can leave it. That's all right. We'll just move forward. Here is the stat that I mentioned to Rhett last night from Ryan Pike at FlamesNation. And this was the season in a nutshell for the Flames. Calgary at 5-on-5 allowed 7 shots the entire game last night. They got 28-4. Scoring chances in the high danger area, 6-5 Detroit. Like, if there's ever been a stat to tell you about how a season's gone for a club, this is it. Is that not the Flames, Dean?
And that's
on the flip
that's
side.
a big indicator to me. A big indicator to their talent level.
See, and I think it's an indication of the.
Go ahead. Explain what you say. Explain what you mean.
They're not good enough to hold on to pucks and make plays in the offensive zone to create scoring opportunities. So they fucking shoot it at the net, which is not the worst play. But if that's the only play you have, you better have 2 guys getting there, and they're not fast enough to even get to the net to cause havoc. If the goalie should be, I said it last night, the goalie should be run 8 times a game then. The opposition goalie, there should be someone lying on him at least 4 whistles every period. Oops, I'm here again.
Like if Detroit had back-to-back and they had to play again today, Ville Husso, he'd be like, put me in. I don't care.
I'm good. Yeah.
But you faced 28 shots. Trust me, I'm fine. You held Detroit to 17 shots.
He was 15 on 17, and Vladar had more work than Husso.
Like 17 shots. How and Detroit was no screaming hell last night. They were
they were fine.
Right?
Yeah, they'd won 5 of their last 14. They looked like a team that won 5 of their last 14.
They did.
They didn't challenge the goalie. Like Husso didn't have to make great saves. The only thing I say on the talent is, like, if you just look at all these guys last year, where their seasons they had, there is enough goals here. I think the problem is there is not a fit that the coaches are yelling, get shots, get shots, get shots. Like you said it last night, I don't think this coaching staff is telling guys, like, pull up, hang on, wait for a trailer. That's not what's being preached here. Daryl's system 100%. Is very clear. It's heavy shot volume from anywhere. There's no emphasis on getting to scoring areas. Like, he was asked last night, did you create enough? Oh, yeah, I thought we got enough. That's a problem.
But there's no way Daryl says, because he always talks about you got to get to the greasy, dirty areas. He talks about that. You just can't take too much out of what Daryl says.
No, and to be fair, this isn't just the post-game. There are concerns inside the organization that this is too much of a philosophy that don't work anymore.
And I'm not looking to throw you under the bus, but I mean, and I think you were maybe devil's advocate, but we've been talking about this for months now. Oh, they outshot their opponent. Look at the shots they're getting. Look, whose goalie had the tougher night? It's always Calgary's goalie.
And to be fair, like, they weren't hitting posts and missing wide open nets last night. They weren't. That has happened. But on the season, this is the stat. All those shots, not a lot to show for it.
The scoring chance, shot clock has been, it's not been married.
They're not married
at all.
Jonathan Huberdeau might have had his worst night as a Flame. Here is the stat line for the soon-to-be $10.5 million player for the next 8 years for the Calgary Flames. 0 is a common theme on the stats here. Shots, shot attempts, scoring chances, only one without a shot attempt. Not a good night. The Flames' pace is becoming a little ominous. They are on track to get around 91 to 92 points. That's below a traditional cutoff for a wild card in the West. Again, it might be a soft year in the West. The only thing that maybe artificially keeps them looking close, we got the standings and their pace here to look at. They're still tied for a wild card with one more game played than Minnesota. If they had somehow got a point last night, they'd be in a playoff spot, as gross as that might feel.
Won't that be the ultimate? Is this team doesn't change. Maybe they do nothing at the deadline, but they find a way to sneak in, and then the philosophy, hey, you know what? We just had a bad year. It takes guys a while to incorporate themselves into a new market. We were a playoff team.
Well,
let's go.
Let's flush that out a little more. Look at those division leaders. Like, Vegas is very unstable ground. Seattle, it's been a rough couple of weeks. Dallas would beat them, I think. But even like a team like Winnipeg wasn't in the playoffs. Like, it is a weird league, man. Point away from playoff spot.
Feel free to go on a St. Louis Blues Stanley Cup championship run. There's no one here that's going to bitch and moan about it. It's just
we'll cheer you the whole way.
Yes, I'm
last
on
place
board.
In the league, July 2nd,
do it.
Was Jan 2nd.
But don't try and tell me that's what's going to happen, because there's no indicators that that's coming.
Yeah.
And
Well,
they
that-
started
the
a
Blues
month
would be
earlier.
the-
It's already when St.
That's
Louis
right.
started that run, it was in January, not middle of February.
Yep. They were last place in the league early Jan and win the cup with a deep team with no superstars. That's what you'd hoped you'd been here. Today in Flames history, here's a good one, boys. Jeff
They
Reese
changed the
in a
goal- the ref
13-1
or
win over the
coach.
Sharks. New NHL record, 3 goalie assists. 30 years ago today. 13-1.
What was the goalie pad budget then? Little tight, I think. Christ, get that guy some new gear.
It was Jeff Reese. They
How-
probably spent the new gear money on the other
Jesus.
goalies.
How heavy would those pads be?
Oh my God, just
especially by the
waterlogged.
end of the game, yeah.
It smelled the horse hair from
Jeez.
here. Gross.
To NHL, let's take a look at the full Tarasenko deal. This one came down yesterday. We've now seen Horvat move. We now see Tarasenko move. We didn't have the full details yesterday. It's a first, a fourth. Blues eat half the money. And prospect defenseman Hunter Skinner goes to the Blues with Sammy Blais, former Blue himself. And it's Nico Mikkola, the defensive defenseman, with Tank going to Broadway. Hunter Skinner, what do you love?
No, it was that he blew himself.
A former Blue himself. It's hard to do.
Not sure.
Speaking of trades,
What?
Frank Seravalli of
Shake your head.
dailyfaceoff.com. If it's grade 7 comedy, it's not past us to throw it. It really
Fellas, come on.
isn't. Top trade target on Frank Seravalli, Daily Faceoff's target board right now. None other than $10 million qualifying offer, Timo Meier of the Sharks. Rest of the next 5, O'Reilly, Chikrin, Kane, Taves. And Patrick Kane with some comments today, Rhett. Yeah, it wasn't the most exciting trade to see transpire. Sounded like he wanted to go to New York, and we know that's not happening since Tank's there. Kane a little. And remember, he's got the full no move. He can kind of dictate the way this thing goes. Sounds like New York preferred Tank.
And I know that earlier this week, Pierre LeBrun said we're right into the Kane decision-making time. He and I think Pat Brisson is his agent. They're going to decide what they want to do, then effectively give the Hawks a list of teams that he would potentially head to and see if they can work something out.
To the rowdiest golf event on planet Earth, it's the WM, Waste Management, Phoenix Open in beautiful Phoenix, hosting the Super Bowl this weekend as well. Rhett, this is not the beginning of the Boston Marathon or a Halloween 10K. This is the gates opening at dawn yesterday for round 1 of the WM Phoenix Open as people sprint to get to the stadium 16th hole. The Ninja Turtles are there. You can see there's Donatello in the blue, Michelangelo in the orange.
Yeah, so what time are we estimate this? With 5 a.m., 6 a.m.? It's dark out.
Yeah, those are lights, not the sun. And I believe it's actually Donatello in the purple, Leonardo in the blue. I don't see Raphael. He might be tucked in behind. And no sign of Splinter whatsoever.
A
little longer in the tooth. I don't know if Splinter's still around with us.
So this is to find the best spot.
Well, there's the party, essentially like 2-story bar behind
some
the
people
green.
took
And it's
off.
limited capacity, so you got to get there. You got to beat the rest of the crowd.
Golf.
Yeah, apparently.
Golf clap. Built a little different.
This
at
one
the
is.
Waste Management.
It's called the People's Open. You can see the sign in the background. Tough to argue that. Good Canadian vibes, as Rhett, we saw at the 16th Stadium Hall. Nick Taylor, Canadian, after his tee shot, have a little listen, sound up. Do that for the hearing loss clinic next week.
Sure, yeah.
Sound up.
Yeah.
As Canadian at the event, good to see that we got some snowbirds down there cheering on the fellas. Tip of the cap. That's not a normal golf hole. Yeah, we're just singing the anthem off the tee. And that's before you get to the, 10,000 people around the green. It worked, whatever it was. Look at the standings. Adam Hadwin, Nick Taylor, a share of the lead. The two Canadians in a 4-way tie for first place. Keep her rolling, fellas. Fellas. NBA trade deadline officially passed. Raptors only had Jakob Poeltl. They don't trade Anunoby. They don't trade Fred VanVleet. They don't trade Pascal Siakam. They don't trade Gary Trent Jr. What the hell happened?
Well, it's these owners.
And the Simpson meme is good as well. Lots of big trades in the NBA.
Yeah.
NFL MVP voting came through yesterday. A lot of names you'll recognize on there. The bottom one, maybe only Rhett will know. Danny Kellington is the man that performed CPR on Damar Hamlin for 9 minutes at that Bills-Bengals Sunday nighter. I think it was Sunday night, or was it holiday Monday, one of the two.
It was Monday nighter, yeah.
And that saved Hamlin's life, allowed him to get into an ambulance to hospital in Cincinnati, where, one of the story of the season, really. Mahomes wins it going away, no surprise, but that was Susie Colbert, who's used an MVP vote on one of the Bills' medical staff. It really is a miracle that we got here with him having a pretty normal human life. What, 4 weeks out of this, Rhett? Holy.
Yeah, no, it didn't look promising.
You had some bad vibes on that one. Ooh. Mahomes' resume looks like this now after another MVP win. Pretty decent collection of things that you like if you're, into football. Twice an MVP, 5 AFC title games, all home field, 3 Super Bowl appearances, 1 Super Bowl MVP, 3-time Pro Bowl or 5-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro, twice leading the league in touchdowns, and a record for total yards in a season at over 5,600.
And yet, you know what'll
It's
happen?
5 years he's been a starter. That's good, right?
And if he loses, it'll be, well, is he really the guy that can win the big game? He's been to 4 Super Bowls. He's only won 1 time.
Anyone that says that deserves a shovel. You could find one of those for our Monday show following the Super Bowl.
No chance.
And finally, we launched a new show on FlamesNation a couple days ago. Nation Citizens. Our boy Princey.
Yeah.
A little storytelling from the Dome. Here we are. Right, you're going to like this.
We'll get into the story about how, no joke, Rhett Warner was my favorite player since I was 10 years old. I haven't told him that yet.
Did you just throw yourself under the bus?
Well, he's not he doesn't even I hope he would listen to this, but he's not gonna, unless we make this a social clip and tag. Unless we put it a social clip and tag him in it. Oh, not even. I don't even know if he would.
You're
see
blushing.
That. Yeah, I am. That's not a joke.
Crush.
It's my 3-year-old son. His name's Rhett. I'm not blowing smoke up anyone's ass. Like all these guys growing up, they all loved Iserman and Sakic and even Iginla. And I'm the odd one that my favorite player growing up was Rhett Warner. I liked him when he was in Buffalo, and then he got traded to Calgary, and I was ecstatic about that. And then we'll even get down to it later in the road. When Rhett retired, I moved on to a player named Shane O'Brien, and people are like, why do you like these guys? Just because they're hard working, they're glue guys, they're muckers, they're guys that just show up with their work pail and their hard hat, and they come to work. And I like that kind of guy. And I've always tried to put that into what I'm doing at FlamesNation here. And
so tuck it under your belt, Princey, when Rhett comes back to town.
Jesus Christ.
Well,
another guy named his kid Rhett. Hey, Dean,
yeah.
that's something. Wow. A lot of Rhetts right around 04, 05 in Calgary for some reason.
I knew Princey was a shady character. He's just on the bottom.
It's a good hoodie. Other than that, I've got questions here. I don't know.
Wow.
That's your Pinder report, fellas.
A presentation of Village Honda. Get there. I keep messing this one up because when we were there, and actually even before that, I saw they have a state-of-the-art kind of a car wash detailing center in the back. And I know we were talking about it before Christmas. Worth mentioning, detailing packages available starting at only $79.95, top to bottom, inside and out. Protect your vehicle from the harsh elements of winter. Book your details today. Sounds silly. That's not a bad Valentine's thing. What doesn't a significant brand, pristine, everything clean in the car? Because I know my wife's car, it's a disaster.
Yeah.
There's just shit everywhere. I don't know how it happens.
When I buried the liquor cabinet when the better
Gross.
half was away, I did clean the car, and that kind of evened it out. So
Yeah.
that's a big thing to do there. You get that detailed?
So something to check out, villagehonda.com, in addition to all the other great service and your dealership for life. There you go. It is the end of the week. So for Montana's Barbecue and Bar, we have the $50 gift card to give away. We were talking about it all week on social media. You go, you tag, get your friends involved. And we have selected a winner, Brian Ellis Huang from Instagram. Congratulations, sir. You
Brian
have
from the
picked
gram.
up the $50 gift card. All you can eat ribs, half price wings, tacos on Tuesdays, that comfort menu. Very good stuff. So congrats to Brian. $50 into his pocket, courtesy of Montana's. We will be in contact with him. And coming up next week, another chance for you to win, and it went from 25 to 50. I wonder if it's going to go up again. I'm not saying.
What are you trying to say here?
Just wondering if it might be really worth your while.
I was told things were top secret, and you can't
be on board next week. If you think about it this weekend, you're out, you're running around, you're doing stuff. Man, I'd like some ribs. I could have some. Come as you are. They love you.
Don't need a tuxedo. Have
a seat, sit down. Great food, great drinks. Montana's Barbecue and Bar. Quite a show. We got a couple things to do before we get out of here.
Yep.
But the YouTube chat has been busy.
I would think so. That's about as volatile a show as we've had.
We get painted into a corner sometimes, and I think it's probably a fair assessment that we can lean to the negative, maybe a bit prematurely. But I feel like, and it's not to justify what we're doing, I think 9 times out of 10 we're right. We may be ahead of it a little bit. But I don't know, as you sit here, it's like, geez, what was any of that? Do you want to take any of that back? I really don't think it is. It's maybe coming off of the heels of an awful looking game in Detroit against a team that looked very beatable and all of that. You had one player like Vladar that looked like he was at his level. And aside from that, so I know that you do shows every day and some of them are, oh, the team was good. No, not so good. And it's easy to be negative and down. But just looking at the chat, there's no one really saying, you guys are out to lunch. This is a great team. Give them a few more weeks. Get them something at the deadline. Like, do they need help? Yes.
Lots.
But
more than they can afford, probably.
But giving away picks or prospects for a player, that's not the way. So I am very curious to see what the next run here holds, because we talked about this month of February, the level of opponent and all of this. It just already feels
starting to ramp up
on the 10th. It just already feels like you got to play tremendous to get back to where you were, looking forward to a February.
They finished the month with Vegas, Colorado, and Boston. So best be getting your shit together before then.
Jay Feaster coined it, right? Intellectual honesty. It's what you need to have. Take your heart out of the equation. And I think that's got to be where they're at right now, or where they need to be at. And I don't think they will be.
You know what you hope they aren't is post-Apex, which is John Weiss brought us. Like little post-Apex last night for some of those guys.
Post-Apex. What are you doing Super Bowl, Retro? What's your plans?
Oh, well, we'll probably have to go to Nona's for Sunday dinner. And then I got to find somewhere. We've been invited to someone's house, but I can't decide whether a house party or a pub is the place to be.
Yeah. So he doesn't know, I think, is what we'll
do.
It didn't sound like that. No, I know where we're going to be.
Come say hi. Come visit us. Tell us how you solve this problem that we've talked about at great length today.
As we sit here right now, again, it's well in front of the game. What does Betway have for our odds on this one?
Well, I saw -1.5 is the line for Philly yesterday. I don't know there's a ton of movement. The line's been there for 2 weeks, right?
So we'll do that on the way out. We have our Betway bets, but for Super Bowl, if you're in the city of Calgary and you don't have plans, even if you do have plans, cancel them. Be with us. Join us at Grey Eagle Resort and Casino, the Stage Bar, the big game viewing party. We've got it all set up. We'll be there middle of the afternoon. Do we know what time it starts yet? Like
4:30 still. Like that? We said 4:30.
Yeah.
Last 2 weeks we've said 4:30.
So get there before that.
Do that.
Get your spot, because there's no reserved seating. There's not like that. You pull up, you sit down, plate of wings, pitcher of beer, $12. Mm-hmm. There are prizes that we're going to be giving away. 4 draws for $100 of free slot play as well. There will be some jerseys and knickknacks and doodads, all kinds of great
doodads.
Stuff. Oh, yeah, lots of doodads. And then the grand prize draw, once the game is done, we will make the draw for the 65-inch Samsung television and sound bar. That's all at the Grey Eagle Resort and Casino on Sunday afternoon into the evening.
Betway Bets.
Looking forward to it. Betway Bets. We'll do some hockey, and then we'll make our football picks. I can start us off. Seeing, and again, maybe it's because the Rangers, Flames played them the other night. They add Tarasenko, but they've also been on a heater. We were talking about it before the show began.
10-2-2, their last 14. How's that for tidy, Rhett? 10 wins, 2 losses, 2 points.
That's a team that seems to have showed its GM what it is.
You can push some chips in on us.
You can add, by all means. So the Rangers against the Kraken. Seattle, good team. On the road against the Rangers, I'm going to take the Rangers here. -1.5, plus 110. And then a little combo bet that is built at the Betway app. Rangers money line plus a point from Artemi Panarin, plus 125.
Kraken have only 3 wins in their last 9 too, Dino. And I'm on the same bet with the Rangers -1.5, paying plus 110. I'm also going to jump on another contest tonight that has Toronto in Columbus. Gaudreau and Marner, 2 of the best playmakers in the NHL. They both get 1 assist. Johnny's got 10 assists in his 7 assists in his last 6 assists his last 7. Marner, 7 assists his last 9. They both get it tonight, plus 175. Let's go.
There you go.
Betway Bets of the day.
Betway Bets of the day. Get it on your phone.
What did I hit yesterday?
Be responsible. God.
Hit that Mo Sider point yesterday. You kidding me? 1 assist for
there you go.
Plus 175.
Eagles Chiefs Sunday, -1.5 for the Fly Eagles Fly.
These Eagles, the line, the Vegas people, they know where to put these lines.
What are they wanting you to do? Are they wanting you to take the Chiefs?
Split it down the middle and they get the juice.
What do you feel, Retro?
I'm going Chiefs. I believe in Mahomes. He's done it over and over. Let him do it again.
I'm kind of in the same boat. At the end, you're going to probably feel like, why would we have gone against Jalen Hurts? He was so good this year.
But you're going against Mahomes the other way.
Can't
got to beat those. If the guy's got the belts, you got to beat the guy with the belt. So I'm going with the guys.
Winners, or are we playing the spread here? I know it's not a huge difference. Both, right?
Yeah, 1.5. Take it. If you're taking the Chiefs,
sure.
you're getting a 1.5. So.
Yeah. I'll just, for contrarian's sake, so we're not a clean sweep, I'll go with Derek Newman, my boys Eagles. Loves the Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly.
See, I feel like
better season.
I feel like you're limping in on that. You're not giving us what you think.
If you had both gone Philly, I would have gone
What does it matter? What do you think? -1.5 Philly?
I think the line's dead on. I think this is like who makes it or misses a kick at the end. I think we got a classic on our hands here. Best team against best player. Love it.
Good pick.
Yes,
I think the line's right where it needs to be. 2 good teams. Could come right down to it. Did you make a pick?
I can't.
That's very retro.
I can't
know
stand
you get to defense every show all the time.
I just said the Chiefs.
I said I'll take Kansas City, or excuse me, the Eagles, and now you're saying you limped in.
No, but you said because I don't know. I don't want to be contrarian, so you guys are going there. Contrarian. I'll go this way because of my buddy Derek Newman.
My boy, big Eagles fan.
Well,
I can't stand Seravalli rubbing it in that I've never given him his booze, so I can't have the.
Did you not give him his booze?
Yeah, and he's pretending he's going to get the address.
Did I get the address?
I'll take the Eagles in a route, obviously.
There you go.
Dominant.
Believe I gave you the address. Twice.
You did, I think.
Twice?
Yeah. Okay. I think he's gotten it at least.
Come on.
At least once, if not twice.
Wow, it's American
What would you say about us if we'd done that, Rhett? What would you what kind of words
you guys do it all the time?
Us?
Are you going to go and watch the Mighty Sabres and Flames?
I can't. I got too much kids hockey. I'd love to, but nope. Kids hockey, but Brother Brett is here. He's in town with all of his dead.
Get a scouting report, would you? Yeah.
They're off to have some wings right now. We're going for wings right now. I might go meet him for some wings and then to the Hofbrauhaus later.
Yes.
For some
Steins.
beers. Yeah. And then the big game.
Thought maybe you'd be off to San Antonio or something for Pee Wee hockey.
No, not
that kind of how it rolls out there.
We're local this weekend. 6 games.
All right. Well, best of luck. Thanks to everybody for jumping in. Interesting show today. We're back on Monday.
See you at the Grey Eagle. And
we will see you at Grey Eagle on Sunday afternoon for the big game watch party. Can we win the TV?
Probably not best, like optics wise if we do.
All right. We'll let somebody else win it.
Also, watch your socials if you've been sending us your photos of your jerseys.
That's right.
2 of you hosers come with us.
We're going to pick one of you. You'll be at the VIP table.
You plus one.
Come on now.
Just make
sure. I go.
See you next week.
Make sure Tan Man doesn't get out of hand.
Oh, I'm ready. We're going to be feeding this guy shots.
Oh, yeah. You should see Pinder. Pinder, you know what? He's trying to taint him. He's trying to get in. Hey, you know what we need to do? We need to go to that tequila bar down after Afterburner sometime. Friggin' Pinder. Terrible.
Nice little speakeasy.
See you, buddies. Have a great weekend.
Oilers suck.